Hello, this is Idodmg and welcome back to the channel. In this Godfall video, I want to talk about this game that comes out next week on November 12th for PlayStation 5, and it's also releasing on the Epic's Game Store with a 12-month exclusive deal over there. But I just want to talk a little bit about this game. They had a stream today talking a little bit about the game, the launch, and some details. I just wanted to talk a little bit about it and share about why I think the game could do well. I am cautiously optimistic, but at the end of the day, I think I will pick it up at some point. Let's go ahead and jump right in and let's talk about Godfall. The first thing I want to talk about is progression throughout the story and also unlocking co-op. So in order to unlock co-op, you can't actually start co-op at the beginning of the game. You have to actually make it through the tutorial, which they said takes around 45 minutes. Once you've completed that, you can then unlock co-op and go play with your buddies. If you want to co-op the game entirely together, you can do that, and it saves both of your progress as you would expect. This was actually asked during their Q&A, so I'm glad that that is confirmed. In order to actually co-op together, you need to have the same bosses completed. And what I mean by that is, let's say that you're on the 5th level, or whatever it is, and I'm just starting out. I will not be able to join your game, but you could come and join my game and help me out along the way. This is intended to be this way so that you can't just skip through the story. Throughout the story and into the end game, you'll encounter, they said, more than 10 mid-bosses or mini-bosses, 70 different enemy types, and more of the bigger end-type bosses. You will complete the story before you actually hit the level cap of character level 50. But once you've beat the story, you unlock the endgame mode in your hub area. Now, I want to talk a little bit about the endgame here, because this sounds like this is going to be kind of the beef of the game and really where a lot of the builds are going to be put to the test. The endgame, I was a little bit skeptical of until I saw this stream on November 5th. They really kind of talked about it a lot, and it really got me excited for the game, to be honest. So once you've unlocked the endgame mode, these are called Dreamstones. There's 18 total Dreamstones. And what a Dreamstone is, let's just walk through one. So each Dreamstone has 3 rounds tied to it and a boss. Each round you'll have to pick between 2 different options, I'm assuming of maps and modifiers. If you've played Last Epoch, it really reminded me a lot of the Monolith. So once you've decided which one you want to do, you go in there. If you win the round, at the end you'll get loot, and you'll also get a buff that lasts for the entire duration of that specific Dreamstone that you're in. So the next 2 rounds in the boss fight, you'll have this buff. Now, if you fail the first round, you still continue on. You just don't get any of the loot, and you don't get the buff, in turn making the rest of that Dreamstone that much more difficult to actually overcome. So once you've either won or failed the first round in a Dreamstone, you can then go on to round 2, and then round 3, and so on, until you get to the final boss. Once you get to the final boss, if you manage to kill it and defeat it, you've then beat that Dreamstone. That is one Dreamstone. And like I said, there's 18 of these, and they have them broken up into sets. But before that, if you manage to die on the final boss of a Dreamstone, that whole Dreamstone then resets, and you have to start back at round 1. So I think this could be quite an interesting little challenge. I just hope that it's enough. So with there being 18 Dreamstones, they have them separated into acts or tiers of endgame, I guess. Act 1, or the first batch of Dreamstones, is Dreamstone 1 through 9. These are intended to be kind of the pre-game and to help you get up to the level cap of 50. Once you've beat Dreamstone 9, you then go on to the 10th one, and you unlock the second phase of these Dreamstones. They're dubbing it the Ascended Tower Dreamstones. That's what it's called. It's meant to be endless and replayable. But with there being 18 Dreamstones, that makes me kind of wonder, how endless is it really going to be? Is 18 going to actually be the last one? Or is it really like going to be actually endless, and you can keep going forever and ever with infinite scaling? And I think it will be. I think 18 will be quite a challenge to get to, but hopefully you can push beyond that once you've conquered that goal. So aside from just the challenge of the end game and pushing your build and putting your build to the limit, what else does the end game offer? And the answer to that is uniques, or legendary items. There's items that can only be found in these Dreamstones to make them feel that much more rare and rewarding. I'm also guessing here, but we'll talk a little bit about crafting here in a little bit. I'm going to guess that there's some more rare materials that are actually tied behind some of these later Dreamstones. So in order to craft and do some of the higher level crafting of items and Valor Plates, you're probably going to have materials from these Dreamstones. Again, pure speculation, and just, I don't know. We'll have to see when the game actually comes out. But yeah, these legendary items are meant to be chase items and very rewarding when you find them. So other than the endgame mode, they also mentioned having a hunt type of game mode where you can search and get different materials and hunt for different monsters and things like that. It kind of gave me kind of a Destiny type of vibe mixed with Monster Hunter in a way, where you're gathering these resources on different areas. And I don't know, I think the idea of it's pretty cool, so you're not just only doing this Dreamstone endgame mode, even though it does sound awesome. So now that you know about the story progression and co-op and unlocking the endgame, let's go ahead and talk a little bit about something else that's going to bring a lot more to the table for this game, and that is character customization in terms of skills and builds. On the stream, they showed off a little bit of the skill tree. They didn't do a deep dive, but they did mention there's a total of 125 skill points on the entire skill tree. You will not be able to max it out and spend all of those, so you will have to decide where you want to put points. With the character level being set to level cap of 50, that gives you 50 skill points, 1 skill point per level, to put into this tree. And as you're working through the end game, they mentioned there's other ways to unlock a few more skill points here as well, just to make you a little bit more powerful and be able to test out different builds and stuff. They also mentioned dissensions. I don't know a lot about them, but it kind of sounded like rune stones that you can augment into either your valor plates or your skill tree in some way. But hopefully that'll add a whole other layer of customization. The other thing that is interesting that I want to talk about here is valor plates. These are your classes, or kind of like your armor that you wear, that determines your playstyle and perks that you have in combat. The skill tree that we talked about just a second ago is the same across all valor plates. I was kind of thinking that each valor plate would have its very own skill tree, but that's not true. The skill tree is yours across all the valor plates, so you don't have to worry about getting loads of different skill points and all that stuff. And one other thing to mention here is they did say that respecking is going to be very simple and very easy to do, just so you can try out many different builds without having to invest loads of time. So on to valor plates. Like I said, there's 12 total. There's ones that give you more of a spirit build, maybe so you can be more of a support or more of a melee. There's some that are more for tanking. They each have their own different role and are not all unlocked throughout the story. This means that you're going to have something that you're always working towards to unlock all 12 of these. They did mention that some of these will take quite some time to actually gather materials to be able to craft them, so that'll be a nice thing to keep me going once I beat the story and I'm working on the end game as well. One big thing for me going into Godfall was the combat gameplay skills and how does it all feel. It was really hard to tell during the stream as the combat and gameplay videos did look to be heavily edited. They did show off one of the first boss fights, and the boss looked to have really cool mechanics, and the combat itself did look pretty fun. This game is more of a melee focus, but when it comes to skills in combat, there's going to be other skills tied to them. Specifically, what I want to talk about here is banners. Banners are, you can place them down and they provide a buff that's group wide, because this game does have co-op as well. So with that in mind, you can run support banner skills such as damage reduction, healing. There's even one they mentioned called life tap, where you mark an enemy, and then if someone kills that enemy, it then heals them. So that seems like an interesting way to really support your group if you're wanting to do a heavy co-op focus. I'm thinking it's more going to be of just kill them before they kill you type of thing, but I'm sure healing will also help during the combat progress as well. With this game being a melee focus, what would it be if we didn't talk about weapons? It looks like there's quite a variety of weapon types here. They showed off dual wielding, and that looked really cool to me. It's really fast-paced, crit-based. Just looked interesting to me. And of course, the hammers look awesome. I mean, they're gigantic hammers. I mean, I got a real one that I made out of wood behind me. But to have a giant medieval-looking warhammer and being able to use it in this game just sounds that much more appealing to me. I'm sure there's going to be swords. They also showed off pole arms, which look to be fun. It looks like there's quite a variety of weapons here, and I'm just excited to dig in and see what all the game has to offer in terms of character customization, builds, build diversity, and the end game. With that in mind, let's go ahead and talk about some of my final thoughts on the game. As I mentioned, the gameplay did look to be pretty heavily edited. During the boss fight, though, it did play out a little bit, and I think overall it should be an okay time. $60 is the average price for a game, and that's what the base edition of Godfall is going to cost, which, I don't know. Me coming from playing indie games does seem like a high price point, but it does look to be like a decent game. My main concern is that the story is going to be really short, and I'm hoping the end game has enough there to keep me playing. Min-maxing all the different builds, skill trees, valor plates, finding those loot and crafting, that all sounds interesting to me, and I really think that hopefully we can get a decent amount of entertainment out of this title. But at the end of the day, we're really going to have to wait and see until we can get our hands on the actual game to really dig in and find out if it's really a good bang for your buck. I'm planning on picking it up the week after it comes out, maybe before, we'll have to see. But anyway, I'm excited to see how the game is and see how the game's future goes in its life cycle. Let me know down in the comments what you think. Are you going to be picking up the game? You waiting to see? Thank you so much. I hope you guys enjoyed this video and all the content on the channel. If so, don't forget to like, subscribe, turn on that bell notification to get notified when I post new weekly videos. Please feel free to check out our social media links down below for more. We have a couple giveaways going on the Discord, so don't miss out on that. As always, thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.